I was just telling someone, Angelo would have never ever expected to have a group of people come and honor him. And thank you very much for doing that. We're going to begin with a prayer, David.
Hi, I'm Angelo's grandson, David Eicher, Jr., and in talking with Grandpa at various times, he never indicated a favorite scripture out of the Bible, but he did say he liked the 23rd Psalm, so I'm going to read that. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. Harold happens to be Dad's best friend, and they met here when he moved into Lincoln Hill Apartments, and he has a special song for us on the piano.
Piano?
No, not on the piano, on the harmonica.
You want to talk?
Well,
You want to say something?
sure. I lived next to Angelo the entire time that he was here. We got to become like the Bobbsey twins. One of us would show up and the other one wasn't. Where's he at? What's wrong? And I'm glad I got to see him this last week before he died. And he couldn't talk. I don't know if he couldn't or wouldn't. But anyway, I walked in there and he saw me and he started grinning like a Cheshire cat and took hold of my hand and he hung on to me. Honey, I was afraid I was going to lose my ride, and I did. But thankfully Colleen was there and she gave me a ride here. But I sang a little ditty to him, that one about, you're my buddy, you're my pal, you're my friend. You'll be that way until the end. So wherever you go, I want you to know you're my buddy, my pal, and my friend. Oh, I'm going to play How Great Thou Art. I wouldn't overbalance her. It's too heavy. I'm a believer in audience participation. I'm going to play it again. Sing it if you can. everybody's looking at this harmonic. What'd you do with that?
Microphone.
Explain this harmonic. I know everybody's looking at this. Maybe you have never seen one like it before. Lots of people haven't. It is an antique.
Wow.
Has two numbers on it, 1889 and 1902.
Cool.
And I found it in Leavenworth at a secondhand store about 25 years ago. It was sitting up on a pedestal on the post, middle of the room. I looked at it, well, I couldn't afford that sucker. So I went on through the thing. There was a couple of friends and the wife and I. Coming back out and I looked at it some more and the guy says, "Can you play it?" And I said, "I can play it, but may I?" He said, "Sure, if you can play it." So I played it. He said, "For sale?" And he said, "Everything in here is for sale." "How much?" $135. I said, "That's too much." And I thought I was really getting a bargain. I told him $125. If I said 100, he'd have taken that. But I said $125, and he's older right now. But it was above my budget, but I've not been sorry. I've made music with this thing for lots and lots of people, and I enjoy it as much as you do.
Thank you very much.
Again, welcome. And I'm standing here without my shoes on because I inherited my dad's bad feet. So Angelo Frank Del Negro, as you can see by your programs, he did bring a smile to everyone's face. He died peacefully in his sleep on September 4th, 2016. And a couple days before Dad passed away, he called and he called and he called out to Jesus. He called out to his mother and his father and all of his siblings. And he knew where he was going, but he kept saying something about being elbow to elbow or elbow to elbow, and I thought, it's really crowded there. I'm not sure where it was, but it was crowded. Angelo was born in Chicago, Illinois, and when he was a year old, he moved to Dixmoor, population of 800 people. His father worked in Cook County Hospital. He shoveled coal into the furnaces to keep people warm. So he could only come home in the summertime. So after the winter months, Dad said he would always remember dandelion fields, and his father would be walking across the dandelion fields and his mother would run to him as he returned home to the family. And it was interesting because one thing he did call out when he was in that other world or between the two worlds, he kept saying, "Caterina, oh Caterina," which was his mother's name. And it was almost like he was calling out her name through those dandelion fields. It was just quite beautiful. His father passed away when he was 10 years old. He had complications from pneumonia. Probably much of it had to do with the soot that he breathed in so much at the hospital. So, after he came, his mother was a healer. She owned a store to make money to raise her family, and she also grew grapes and smashed them and put them in the wine barrels, and then the kids would hide them under the cellar until the big guys got there and took the grapes away. So she had a little bit of a history herself. At age 15, Dad quit high school. He wrote in his memo, he has little notes there where he recorded his history, and he says, "I quit school because it was such a bore." But he spelled bore, B-O-A-R. So there's a pretty good chance he probably should have stayed in school. And then with his younger brother, Louis, who was 14, Angelo was 15 and a half, they decided they would hobo and ride the railroad. So they did that for a couple weeks, and they went to California and back. They first laid track down for the Baltimore-Ohio Railroad, and then they decided to ride it. And as Angelo said, the only risk was getting caught, which they didn't. He made a note. They did not get caught. And then he worked again. He worked all of his life. He tarred roofs. He delivered coal. He delivered ice, which is another reason you guys want to finish high school. Then he joined the CCCs, and he was the camp carpenter, and he became a wonderful, wonderful handyman, which he continued doing throughout his life. And many of you at the center know what a good handyman he was, because he was always wanting to fix things. And then, after that, he ended his little notes at 1941. Then he met our mother in an airplane factory, and Terry was born, the first one. Her name was Angela. She was born Angela. He called her Angel. And then Kathleen, he called her Black Eyed Pea. He named all of his girls. Christine, he called Little Chickadee. And his little Mary, he called Princess. And I was called Fat Stuff. Fat Stuff. Which is why I'm going to get back at him now. Also, a couple days before Angelo passed, we made a couple phone calls because he was feeling quite well, and he called his best friend Joe. And he finally made out that this is Joe Sullivan. And he said, Joe, this is ADN, which were his initials, and that's what most people called him, ADN. He said, this is ADN, the man of the hour. And I thought only Angelo would name himself the man of the hour on his deathbed. I mean, anyway, I miss him. Over the last 7 years, he did live in Stanwood, Washington, and I had the wonderful honor of being able to care for him. And I got to learn to know what it was like to have a father. He wasn't there a lot of the times because things happen. But the most important thing for me is that not that I got to have a father, but I got to be a daughter. And it was the most wonderful experiences to be a father, to be a daughter to my father. And I am forever grateful for that. And you will notice on the table over here, there's a couple mementos of Angelo's. They're things that you can remember him by. Some are tomato cans and olives and things because he loved to cook. There's a watering can because he loved to garden. There's a baseball mitt and a ball because he loved baseball. And there's also a yellow cake mix because he lived till he was 98 and a half, and for breakfast every morning he had a piece of cake and coffee. And he made yellow cake mixes, and much to the dismay of the apartment, sometimes they got overdone, but all turned out well, and we're here to celebrate Angelo. Thank you very much again for coming.